starting at number 30. Here we go, starting off with the Chicago White Sox. All right, we got some, I just saw the White Sox for the last few days, splitting with my Red Sox. My goodness, I'm thinking, are we really going to lose 3 out of 4 to the worst team in Major League Baseball? You got to be freaking kidding me. Luckily, the Red Sox were able to pull off the split. It is what it is. It is what it is, right? But if we're looking at what these guys are doing on the field, Andrew Vaughn, Gavin Sheets, Paul DeJong, they've all been hitting pretty well. Sheets and DeJong each have 4 home runs in their last 7 games. So these guys are mashing. I think they're going to be some trade candidates at the deadline. I definitely think a team would love to pick up Sheets, a left-handed bat. That could be a good platoon matchup for a team out there. And a Paul DeJong, I would love for my Red Sox to maybe consider Paul DeJong, solidify the shortstop position for at least for the rest of this year. He would be a rental. Maybe the Dodgers could look into someone like Paul DeJong, a veteran shortstop. You can put Mookie Betts out to right field. We'll see. Also, Drew Thorpe, remember, they got him in the trade with Dylan Cease, one of their top pitching prospects, and he's going to be making his debut this coming week, so stay tuned for that. But the big story with the White Sox this week, I've already done a couple of videos in the last few days, trade proposal videos for Garrett Crochet and Luis Robert. Make sure you go check those out. I actually just posted the Luis Robert one just a few hours ago, so take a look at those trades. Let me know what you think. I would say a little lighter on those trades just because Luis Robert has been injury prone, but it's still going to cost quite a pretty penny to get Luis Robert. But, why am I talking about Luis Robert? Well, he's been popping up in the news. And we had a little story earlier this week from Jeff Passan saying that the White Sox are basically open for business. And Luis Robert, Garrett Crochet, those are 2 guys where they're under quite a bit of control here. So people are thinking, no, we should probably hang on to those guys. Those are going to be like, the cornerstones of our franchise. But when you really look at where the White Sox are, realistically, you're probably looking at maybe 2 to 3 years down the road before they really start sniffing, the possibility of contending. So, fast forward 3-4 years down the road, Luis Robert, Garrett Crochet, they're going to be entering, free agency, and, it could be worth the White Sox looking into some trades, really try to bring back as many prospects as they can, guys that can impact the future, that can help out, with some of these guys like Colson Montgomery, Drew Thorpe, who's going to be coming up this week. So it's going to be interesting. And Luis Robert, his name has been coming up a little bit, and John Heyman actually talked about Luis Robert in his article this past week. He says here, the White Sox are actively seeking packages for Robert. I don't know, man. Really, when you think about it, it might make the most sense for the White Sox to look into some moves here. So here's a big name that's going to be on the trade market. Say what you will about the injury history with Robert, but this guy's a superstar player when he's healthy. If he shows that he's healthy over the next month or so, I think that is something teams will pay attention to over the next few weeks. But if he's healthy and he's hitting, teams will definitely line up for him. I know people are going to have their opinions saying, no, he's way too injury prone. There's no way that they're going to be giving up top prospects. Sorry, you're going to have to give up top prospects for Luis Robert. This is a guy that's 26 years old. He's under 3 more years of control. He has a game-changing bat and game-changing defensive abilities out in the outfield. Listen, when you get a power speed bat like that, who plays good defense, yeah, it's going to cost you something. And people are going to look towards the injuries. They're going to say, oh, you're not going to get anything for Luis Robert. No, you're going to have to give up something, at least a top 100 prospect, maybe even 2, depending on the organization. So look out for Luis Robert in the next several weeks. That will be something to pay attention to. And Garrett Crochet, that's an interesting one too, right? Garrett Crochet, you could even make the argument maybe the White Sox try to keep him around for a long time. We'll see. But let's move on. At number 29, we got the Marlins. Marlins are looking a little interesting there. kind of winning some series, right? It was like, what the heck? This Marlins team, they're stepping up against some of these teams, but now they've lost a couple of series this week, losing to the Rays and the Guardians this past week. On the field, you got some guys like Josh Bell, Jesus Sanchez heating up. Josh Bell has actually been hitting very well over the last several weeks, hitting over 300 and slugging almost 500 in the last 30 games, and he's slugging over 600 in the last 7, or close to 600 in the last 7 games. Jesus Sanchez has a couple of home runs in his last 7 games. He had a slow start, so maybe those guys could be trade candidates soon. We'll see. Xavier Edwards, one of their higher prospects, getting some starts at shortstop this past weekend. So Tim Anderson, he's going to be out for a little bit. I believe he went on the bereavement list, if I remember that correctly. But Xavier Edwards, look out for this guy. This could be a shortstop of the future, possibly for the Marlins. We'll see. But, hey, the fact that they're giving him a look at short, I think says a lot. At number 28, we got the Angels. The Angels swept the Padres this week. Look at the Angels making some noise, but then losing 2 out of 3 to the Astros. Did have a walk-off win today. Logan O'Hoppe with the walk-off homer today. Gotta love that. And, Kevin Pillar, man. This guy, is anyone noticing what Kevin Pillar is doing with the bat this year? This guy's hitting .330 with a .984 OPS. What the heck is going on here with Kevin Pillar? I mean, if he keeps hitting like this, he is absolutely going to be a trade candidate for sure. If he keeps this up, he is definitely going to interest some teams out there, even if it's, like as a 4th outfielder, right? We'll see. Number 27, we got the Rockies, swept by the Reds. The Reds are red hot. We'll talk about them in a little bit. Losing 3 out of 4 to the Cardinals. Adael Amador called up. I hope I didn't botch that. If I did, I apologize. He's the Rockies' number 1 prospect, number 32 overall on MLB Pipeline. He's been putting up good numbers in the minors up to this point. This year, a little slow, hitting under 200, OPS under 700. Does have 7 home runs and 22 stolen bases in the minors this year, though, over 46 games. But this guy is a very talented hitter, very athletic, should be a fun player to watch for the next several years. So he got the call this week. Brendan Rodgers went on the IL. Listen, I'm just saying here, man, I wonder if you could see, I wonder if the Rockies are hoping Travis Bazzana falls to their laps. If Travis Bazzana is on the board draft time and they're on the clock, I wonder if the Rockies take him, man. Brendan Rodgers is going to be a free agent in a couple of years. It's going to be interesting. I'm very interested to see what the Rockies do in this draft, because I feel like they can kind of do a couple of different things. Could they go position player? Could they go for a pitcher? We'll see. But like I said this last week, don't sleep on the Rockies in the next couple of years, man. We just called up Amador. They have 6 prospects in the top 100. Do not sleep on the Rockies in the future. 6 top 100 prospects, and they get the number 3 pick. I'm just saying here, man, the Rockies could be fun sooner rather than later. At number 26, we got the Oakland A's losing 2 out of 3 to the Mariners and the Blue Jays. Brent Rooker homer today. He's having a fantastic season, hitting .270, a .356 on base, a .541 slugging, a .158 WRC plus, 13 homers, 40 RBIs. What a season here for Brent Rooker. Now the question is, now we're finally seeing the Oakland A's start to come back down to earth a little bit after a pretty fun start. Brent Rooker, will he be a trade piece at the deadline? I'm going to be honest with you. I really don't know. I don't think it's a slam dunk that he ends up getting traded, because he has a lot of control. He has 3 more seasons until free agency after this year. However, he's 29 years old, so I wonder if Oakland, I don't know, man. I feel like Oakland, there's a good chance they could hang on to him. We'll see. Oakland has some pretty interesting pieces as well. Maybe they want to hang on to him, and that's their guy for the next few years, but we'll see. If they get a good enough offer, maybe. At number 25, we got the Rays. I actually saw the Rays in person this past weekend. I went to Tropicana on Friday, saw them play the Orioles. Listen, I'm just saying, I was watching some BP before the game on Friday, and Anthony Santander This guy was just hitting like effortless home runs. And I was like thinking, okay, is this guy going to like go deep in this one? And yeah, he went deep. Had a really good weekend against the Rays. They got swept by the Orioles this past weekend. They did win their series against Miami earlier in the week. But this Rays team, man, it's a weird feeling, right? When I went to Tropicana on Friday, it just felt different. It really did. There was just something about the atmosphere. Right, there were a lot of Orioles fans at that game. I was actually a little surprised. Oh, you're right. I'm so sorry. You're right. Ian Long, yes. Apologies. They play again tomorrow. I'm sorry about that. Yes, the Orioles, you could say, swept the weekend. Let's say that. Then they got one more game tomorrow. But yeah, there was just something different about Tropicana, man. I've been there so many times over the years, and of course, yeah, I wasn't seeing my Red Sox play. I was seeing, two, division rivals, but still not my team. But I don't know. To my opinion, there were more Orioles fans at that game. There was a good showing of Orioles fans at Tropicana Field this weekend. And I don't know. Friday, it just seemed like there was no life for that Rays team at all. It just didn't feel the same like they have over the years. The Rays have always been a team that has just worried me every single time we play them. They just don't have that same energy. It's different. Didn't hear the cowbell as much this past, when I went there on Friday, as much as I have in the past. I don't know, just some observations that I had there. So just felt like there wasn't as much life in that stadium. Yeah, sure. Not a lot of people have gone to Tropicana over the years, but the people that do go, they get pretty rowdy for their team. And even if the Rays are down, they get rowdy for that team. And they just weren't feeling it, man. I don't know. I'm just saying. Anyway, I'm rambling. As for the guys on the field, Jose Siri, he's been red hot. Brandon Lau, he's been hitting great. Randy Rosarena, he's heating up. He's hitting over 300 with over a 1,000 OPS over the last 7 games. A bit of news for the Rays. Designating I'm botching what I'm saying right now. Harold Ramirez designated for assignment this past week. A guy that's hit pretty well for them over the last couple of years. That was a little surprising. It wasn't off to a great start this year, but he showed a lot with the bat over the last couple of years for them. Taylor Walls, he's back with the Rays now. Ryan Pepio, he did have a quality start against the Marlins, struck out 8. I believe he's pitching tomorrow as well. Yeah, I don't know. Not really much to say with the Rays. Not much to say. Here we go. Number 24. We got the Nationals. I had a bit of an issue deciding where to put the Nationals this week. This might be a little bit low. I've actually been pretty high on the Nationals so far this year. But they got swept by the Mets. They just had a really weird week. You got swept by the Mets, and then you win 3 out of 4 against the Braves. They have the Braves number this year. They're 6-2 against Atlanta this season. I don't know what it is. The Braves just cannot figure out Washington. But it's the same old story with the Nats. Good pitching, but the offense, they just lack bats, right? Winker, Senzel, Rosario, they've been hitting pretty well, but not much else. Good pitching, though. Jake Irvin, 6 shutout innings against the Braves. He looked great. Mitchell Parker, he pitched well in a no decision against Atlanta. 7 innings, 2 earned. Even Hers, he got the start today. He did all right? He didn't go very deep into the game, but he pitched pretty well. I don't know, man. I don't know what to say about. Well, I'll talk about the Braves, right? But the Nationals, I felt I struggled with this one this week because there's some teams that I wanted to put ahead of the Nats, so they kind of got a little pushed down because of that. I don't know, but also that sweep from the Mets that did not help them this week. So at number 23, let's talk about the Mets. I had to put the Mets. I felt like that was another thing too. I felt like I had to put the Mets ahead of the Nats here just because they swept them, right? As for the Mets this past weekend, though, playing in my homeland in London, for those of you that don't know, I was born in England. I actually became a U.S. citizen not too long ago. Back in 2019, I officially became a United States citizen. Fun story. Fun fact for those of you that didn't know. I would have loved to have gone to that this past weekend. I hope I get the chance one day to be able to go back to my homeland and go see a baseball game. It is it sounds so cool to me to be able to go do that, right? And then I can also go visit family while I'm there, so that can knock out two birds with one stone. But the Mets, hey, they had a fun one today. They rallied in the ninth, had a awesome double play to end the game. And if you did not hear the commentary for the end of that game, please go listen to the commentary. Go listen to the call. Awesome. Listen, British commentary, if you watch, for those of you, if you watch soccer or football, the commentary is always fantastic, right? These guys know how to hype up a game. And that was awesome, listening to that call. So go check that out if you haven't already. But the Mets offense, they've actually been doing very well lately. 5th in offense over the last 7 games. Lindor, Marte had a bit of a rough game defensively the other day, but offensively, he's been pretty good. Pete Alonso, hey, how about Iglesias? He's even hitting pretty well lately. So they're getting the bats going for the Mets. Severino, he was great against the Nationals. 8 innings, 1 earned. Peterson and McGill, they picked up wins this past week. Manaea Quintana, they were kind of meh in London this past weekend. But hey, they did enough today to get the job done. But Steve Cohen, he made some comments that people found interesting, right? Steve Cohen, he said that he is focused on the Mets winning games, mentioned that they're right there in the wild card race. I think it's pretty much a given. I don't know. I don't want to say the Mets are completely done, but it seems like they're done. I don't know. I know they had that win today. It was a feel-good win, but they just have so many pieces on this team that you can trade and you can get just good prospects back for the future. And they still have a core of players that they could still build around and they can go spend money in the offseason. It just seems to make sense for the Mets to just have an absolute fire sale. So, Steve Cohen saying those comments, right? He believes in his team, right? That's just Steve Cohen. I think the Mets will have a fire sale when all is said and done. And number 22, speaking of fire sales, could we see this team have a fire sale? How about the Houston Astros? I mean, man, I feel like you haven't heard much about the Astros as of late. They were the talk of the town not too long ago, but they had themselves a pretty good week, winning 2 out of 3 against the Cardinals, winning 2 out of 3 against the Angels. They still have a good offense. They've had a top 10 offense all year. Yordan Alvarez, Alex Bregman, they have been red hot over the last 7 games. Bregman hitting very well. I believe he left the game early today. I think he got hit by a pitch. I can't remember where, but he did leave the game early. Yordan Alvarez, 4 home runs in his last 7 games. Jose Altuve, he's hitting .345 over his last 7. So, hey, fantasy players out there, make sure make sure those guys are in the lineup because these guys are red hot lately. And hey, just gonna shout out So Rare one more time. If you got those cards on So Rare, hey, man, just saying, you might want to be playing those guys this coming week. Unfortunately, Kyle Tucker, he's going on the IL. He fouled off a ball off his shin. I will tell you, playing, I wasn't the best high school player, but playing in high school, playing growing up, that hurts like a mother when you foul off a ball off your shin or your ankle. It is the absolute worst. But yeah, he's dealing with a shin contusion right now. Wasn't really progressing, so they decided to just put him on the IL. For the pitching side of things, Framber Valdez, he was the big story for this week for the Astros. Complete game against the Angels, dedicated it to Christian Javier. It was announced that he got Tommy John. So, hey, Christian Javier. But yeah, this Astros team, man, they just, this team, I don't know, man. They're just running through a lot of issues right now. I don't know. It's like anytime they take any kind of a step forward, they either get bad news, Kyle Tucker going down for a little bit, or Christian Javier needing Tommy John. I don't know, man. I don't know. Ethan Sacco, $2 super chat. Bro was trying to play still. I mean, my goodness. But give him credit. Give him some credit, man. Hey, Ethan, thank you for that super chat. Greatly appreciate that. Moving on here, we got a fun team to talk about here. How about the Pittsburgh Pirates coming in at number 21? Good week for the Pirates, winning 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers and the Twins. Gotta love that. They're half a game back in the wild card race right now. They've been getting fantastic pitching. Jared Jones, he pitched pretty well today. Keller, he had 6 shutout innings with 8 strikeouts against the Twins. The Paul Skeens show keeps on rolling. That was a big story from this past week. Paul Skeens versus Shohei Ohtani. Skeens absolutely just blew away Ohtani in the first at-bat. I think he just threw him, was it 3 or 4 fastballs or whatever it was? He just blew Ohtani away. And then later on, Ohtani homered off of Paul Skeens. I mean, I don't know, man. That's just popcorn right there. Like, well, that's awesome, right? Both of them just getting the best of each other. I mean, that's just fantastic. I mean, you got to be thinking, if you're in Paul Skeens' shoes, right, you know how good you are, right? You know your ability. And you've been waiting for the moment to go up against Shohei Ohtani, for how long now? I just can't even imagine that feeling when you just know how good you are and you go up against the best in the world. Not just, the best in Major League Baseball, not even the best in the world, the best in the entire freaking universe. Shohei Ohtani is absolutely amazing. Man, when you just have 2 guys like that going at it, that's just awesome. It's just awesome. Anyway, however, the bats on the other side of things, right? They're starting to pick it up a little bit. Rowdy Tellez, he's been hitting well over his last 7 games, hitting .476, a .522 on base, a .762 slugging, and a home run. I'm gonna keep mentioning So Rare here. We're partners with them again. And listen, if you get a Rowdy Tellez card, you might want to consider playing Rowdy Tellez in your next matchup this coming week. I'm just saying, maybe go out there and see if you can go get a Rowdy Tellez card. Maybe go on the marketplace. I'm just saying, he's that hot. You might want to add Mr. Rowdy for this coming week. O'Neal Cruz, Ke'Bryan Hayes, Nick Gonzalez, they've been picking it up lately. Talk about Luis Robert. Listen, in my video with Luis Robert, my trade proposal video, I mentioned the Pittsburgh Pirates as a possible destination. I would absolutely love for the Pirates to acquire a hitter like that. He's on a team-friendly deal. You can't sit here. I mean, my goodness, I think even Pirates fans might think they could afford Luis Robert. Bob Nutting, I know that guy never wants to spend any money, but I mean, I'm just saying, you got a guy that's on a pretty team-friendly deal. I would love for the Pirates to make a move like that. They could really use a bat to just shore up that lineup. I mean, they've struggled all year, but lately they are picking it up. So it would be pretty fun, if you ask me. I know, Shadood, Bob Nutting won't spend the money. I know. Nate the Nat, Pirates aren't good enough yet. I think the Pirates are so close. They're so close. They got the pitching. They just need some bats. But we'll see how the offense does over the next couple of weeks. Here we go. Let's move on to the next tier. At number 20. We got the Blue Jays picking it up a little bit lately. How about Toronto 2 games back in the wild card? We're talking about Vlad here in the intro on the show. Will the Blue Jays just end up hanging on to Vlad? I don't know, man. But the Blue Jays, they had themselves a pretty good week. They split with Baltimore, and then they win 2 out of 3 against Oakland, getting the job done in that series. They've been getting great pitching. Chris Bassett, Gosman, Kikuchi picking up wins in the last 7 games. Barrios had a quality start, no decision against the Orioles. So they're getting some good pitching here. They're stepping it up on that side of things. The offense continues to be a bit up and down, but Vlad, we'll talk about him in just a second, but he's been hot. He's been hitting really well. George Springer, he's starting to show signs of life lately. Hit a couple of home runs in the last 7 games. Davis Schneider, he's hitting home runs here. 2 home runs in the last 7 games. Varsho, IKF, they're contributing. We got to see here. We're in wait-and-see mode with the Blue Jays. But if they do fall, if let's say, they're 2 back now, but let's say in a month or so, They fall back a little bit. Let's say they're 5 out. What do? Do you move Vlad Jr.? Do you move Bo Bichette? Now, let's talk about Vlad. Right? So we had a report today. Or is this today? Yeah, it was today. According to Bob Nightingale, the Chicago Cubs have privately discussed the possibility of pursuing Guerrero ahead of the trade deadline next month. Now, Vlad, he has definitely been something lately. He is hitting very well lately. And taking a look at his overall slash line, the power is starting to creep back with Vlad a little bit. The 7 home runs don't look like much, but he's starting to hit for some power as of late. That slugging, that was below 300 not too long ago. It's up to 429, and the WRC plus is at 139. He's hitting 294, has a 387 on base. That's a very strong on base percentage there. So Vlad is starting to look like that Vlad we saw a few years ago. Can he keep this going? We'll see. But if you are the Chicago Cubs, I mean, we'll talk about the Cubs here in just a little bit. They're not too far away here on the power rankings. But if we're looking at the lineup, if you're adding Vlad, right, Michael Busch, he's come over to the Cubs here. He came over in that trade with the Dodgers. Michael Busch has been hitting pretty well this season, hitting 246, has a 343 on base, a 447 slugging. I think you got to keep Michael Busch at first, right? I just think that's where he should stay. So you're looking at DH, right? The problem is, right, Seiya Suzuki, you might be thinking, okay, we'll just put him back out in right field. Peter Crow-Armstrong, he's been, kind of slow out the gate, right, coming up to the major leagues. Could you just see a situation where Peter Crow-Armstrong, you just send him back down? Cody Bellinger, you put him in center field. That's his position. And then Suzuki goes out to right. That can open up DH for Vlad. But the problem is Seiya Suzuki, his defense in right field, it's not very good, right? Now, I think if you have the opportunity to add a bat like Vlad, I think you deal with the defense at that point. Seiya Suzuki has definitely had his issues out there. I think in that moment, that offense probably outweighs the bad defense from Suzuki. So, but I think you make a good point here in the chat as well. Rocks. Cubs are struggling. Maybe they will be sellers. I mean, we could definitely see that possibility. Who knows? I mean, the Cubs, they were looking pretty good. They've come back down to earth a little bit here. I don't know what's going on. I don't even want to say come back down to earth. They're just, like you were saying, they're struggling, right? This is a good team, and they're just not getting the wins. But look out for this. Maybe this could be a home. Maybe the Cubs pick it up a little bit. Blue Jays fall back. That could be a landing spot for Vlad. I mean, that would definitely be fun. So, but the Blue Jays, they have been playing well. Let's see if they can keep this up. At number 19, we have the Arizona Diamondbacks splitting with the Padres, winning 2 out of 3 against the Giants. Offense is doing pretty well. Randall Grichuk, Blaze Alexander, Pavin Smith hitting well. Ketel Marte, Lourdes Gurriel Jr., they're hot. The rest of the offense, Corbin Carroll is starting to show some signs a little bit. Maybe we start to see a bit of a breakout for this season from him. But yeah, he has been ice cold for pretty much most of this year. The story this week, though, with the Diamondbacks, Jordan Montgomery getting booed off the field in Arizona. This guy has been absolutely terrible. In the last 2 starts, Montgomery has 6 innings pitched, 15 earned runs. He gave up 2 home runs against the Giants in his last start. He was terrible against the Mets the start before that. He has a 6.80 ERA and a 4.73 FIP on the year. I don't know, man. I mean, Montgomery, this is a guy, when they brought him in, you're thinking, wow, this rotation with Gallen, Montgomery, Merrill Kelly, Eduardo Rodriguez, who they also signed. And this starting pitching has been terrible. They're actually dead last in starting pitching Fangraph WAR over the last 30 games. I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on with this pitching here. It's really bad right now. Yeah, Mike, great point. I mean, yeah, I don't think you're ever going to see a pitcher, I mean, at least for a long time, they're going to hold out like Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery did. That can't happen again. And even those guys have acknowledged how important spring training is. So, for a guy like Montgomery, I figured, he's he's not really like a velo kind of a guy. He's not really like a stuff kind of a guy. So I figured he would be fine, but no, he's been leaving just a lot of meatballs over the plate. He's been getting tattooed. Yeah, man. I don't know, man. But they need Gallen to get back. Erod, they need this guy to get back. Like, what is going on with Eduardo Rodriguez? I mean, he hasn't even pitched. He's been one of the worst signings, I would say. Diamondbacks, interesting week. At number 18, we got the Cardinals losing 2 out of 3 to the Astros, splitting with the Rockies. Wait, where was that? Let me just double check that. Wait, was that hold on 1 second. I feel like I might be off on that. No, that was a split. Okay, yeah. So it was a 4-game set, each 1-2. Offense up and down for the Cardinals. Offense up and down, but Burleson, he's been hot lately. Home run today for him. Nolan Gorman hitting well. Mason Wynn had a good day today. Goldschmidt got hot there for a little bit. He's cooled off a bit here, so let's see if he can get it going. Still waiting for Nolan Arenado and Brendan Donovan. Still waiting for these guys to show up. Where are they? What are they doing? I don't know, man. Nolan Arenado, this guy's making a lot of money, and he's just not doing anything with the bat. Still looks pretty good on defense, but at the end of the day, you want Arenado to start hitting. Luis Robert, sorry to bring him up again, but could Luis Robert, maybe that could be a guy. They've gotten basically no production out of center field. I don't know. Maybe they could swing a deal for someone like him. Starting pitching has been a bit underwhelming lately. Piante was solid today, though. 5 innings, 0 runs allowed, and 6 Ks. So for the Cardinals, not the best week, but hey, they put themselves back in that wild card race. So moving on. At number 17, we got the Cubs just ahead of the Cardinals, winning their series against the White Sox, but then they just ran into this red-hot Reds team. I don't know, man. This Cubs team, they just can't seem to get it going. Sure, took care of business against the White Sox, but I don't know. They just need to go on some kind of a run. The offense has been okay. Suzuki, I mentioned him earlier. Happ, Morel, they're hitting home runs. Bellinger, Bush, they've been pretty solid. But starting pitching, minus today, hasn't really been great. Imanaga looked good against the Reds today, 6 2/3, 2 earned, 7 Ks. He did okay against the White Sox last time out, 4 1/3, 1 earned. But Justin Steele, Javier Assad, Ben Brown, they all took L's in their last starts. I don't know. Just a Cubs team that's just not really clicking on all cylinders right now. We mentioned Vlad Jr., really the offense, I don't think has been a major problem. They have a lot of bats in this lineup, but maybe Vlad could bring some, good extension into that lineup to keep the lineup a bit more consistent. Either way, I don't know, man. I just feel like Justin Steele, he has not been himself this year. Had that hamstring injury not too long ago. He's not pitching like he was last year. I don't know. Could you make the argument the Cubs maybe need to go get some starting pitching? We'll see. We will see. But again, Vlad Jr. could be a pretty fun fit for the Cubs. We will see. Number 16, we got the Rangers. Not a great week for the Rangers. Losing 2 out of 3 to the Tigers and the Giants. Bottom 10 offense over the last 7 games. Corey Seager, Smith, they've been hot. Semien, Lowe have been okay. Anytime I see Nathaniel Lowe and I see Brandon Lowe, and I hate that Brandon Lowe. I hate that his last name is pronounced Lowe. It always messes with me. Because I was a Derek Lowe guy growing up, so I always pronounced it Lowe. And then I remember when I first saw Brandon Lowe's name, I'm like, oh, Brandon Lowe, just like Derek Lowe. And everyone was like, no, it's Lowe. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. I was used to Derek Lowe when I was growing up. But besides those guys, everyone else has been pretty cold in the Rangers lineup. I also mentioned Luis Robert for the Rangers in that video. That could be pretty fun. Pitching has been up and down. Andrew Heaney did look okay this weekend, 5 2/3, 3 earned against the Giants, 6 shutout innings against Miami last time out, so he's pitching pretty good lately. Nathan Eovaldi did pretty good against the Tigers, 5 2/3, 1 earned, 7 Ks. Jose Arena had the win against Detroit, 6 2/3, 1 earned, 6 Ks. Dane Dunning, Michael Lorenzen, kind of meh lately though. Max Scherzer has had a rehab start today at AAA. Looked pretty good. 4 shutout innings, 5 strikeouts. Max Scherzer getting closer to a return. But for the Rangers, they got to start picking it up. At number 15, we got the Reds. You know, maybe I'm being a little ambitious with the Reds here. They did a pretty big leapfrog over some of these teams, but they've been that hot lately, sweeping the Rockies, winning 3 out of 4 against the Cubs. They're now tied for a wild card spot. The offense has been red hot, first in offense over the last 7 games. They really needed this. That offense has just been doing next to nothing this year. You know, sure, Ellie De La Cruz, you know, he's been a fun player this year, but a lot of guys just weren't really stepping up. They absolutely wrecked the Rockies. That definitely helped with their ranking in the offense over the last 7 games. They scored 29 runs in that series. But TJ Friedl, he's been back lately, and he's been red hot. Had a 7-game hitting streak snap today, but 2 home runs in the past week. Jeimer Candelario, he's been hot. Jonathan India, he's hitting very well. Getting some pretty good pitching from Frankie Montas, Nick Lodolo, Andrew Abbott, Hunter Green. All had wins in their last starts. So, hey, the Reds, you know, this is a team I was high on coming into the year. Maybe I'm being a little ambitious with them, but let's see. Let's see if they can prove me right here. I had a big jump for them this week. Let's see if they can keep this going. At number 14, we got the Tigers, winning 2 out of 3 against the Rangers, but then losing 2 out of 3 against the Brewers. Offense has been inconsistent, just like it's been all year. 10 runs today, but then they were shut out on Friday. It's like, I feel like this Tigers team, they just like, they'll blow you out one game, and then they just get shut out the next game. It's really weird. They only scored 6 runs against Texas over the 3 games. But speaking of the offense, Spencer Torkelson sent down to the minor leagues. That was a big story this past week. Man, you know, Torkelson, it looked like maybe he figured it out last year. I will say this with Torkelson last year. I know he had the home runs, but when you looked at the slash line with Spencer Torkelson, it wasn't really like a great slash line with him. All right, let me go pull up that slash line from last year. It wasn't amazing. I remember thinking that. I'm like, okay, all right, you know, he's showing the power like we thought, you know, he was going to bring to Major League Baseball when he got drafted number 1 overall. But last year, you know, when you look at the slash line with him, he hit .233. He had a .313 on base, a .446 slugging, a 107 WRC plus. You know, those aren't really like amazing numbers with him, right? But we all looked at the home runs, like 31 home runs, 94 RBIs, and you know, you're like, okay, all right, maybe it's the step in the right direction, right? Maybe this year he puts it all together and he becomes that complete hitter. No, only hitting .201 this year, a .266 on base, a .330 slugging, 4 home runs, 18 RBIs. You know, when you look at Spencer Torkelson, when you look at the mechanics with him, now I'm not a hitting expert by any means, but I mentioned this in last week's show. Yeah, you know, I don't know. He just looks really stiff, right? He just looks like a guy that needs to get a bit more fluid. He just seems like a guy that's not relaxed up there. He just seems way too tight. I don't know. I think they got to figure something out with him, you know, when it comes to the mechanics. I think going to AAA was the best thing for him. You know, kind of back off a little bit, get a breather, right? Try to really work on some things down there, you know, and come back and let's see if he can just get himself right? But you're now starting to see people say, okay, well, is Torkelson a bust? I'm not ready to call him a bust. I think that's too soon. I think that's a little too premature, right? I mean, he's 24 years old. Let's keep that in mind, right? And you got to think here, he had the fast track to the major leagues, right? If you think about 2021, he went from high A to double A to triple A, right? He just went right through the minor leagues in that first year, and then he came up in 2022. So, could that have maybe have been something there? I don't know. But I'm not ready to pull the plug on Torkelson just yet. However, I will be doing a video this coming week. I will be doing a redraft of the 2020 draft. I'm excited for that. Make sure you stay tuned for that. Draft content is picking up, everyone. I have my first mock draft being posted tomorrow. Make sure you check that out. So, but Torkelson, wait and see. Let's see how it goes for him in minor leagues. Let's see if he can get it figured out. But they're getting great pitching. I see you in the chat. Where did that go? The doctor. Skubal is 100% coming for the Cy Young. Skubal was amazing this past week. 6 2/3, 1 earned, 10 Ks today. And then he had, before that, 6 innings, 1 earned against the Rangers. This guy has been just phenomenal. He was my Cy Young pick coming into the year. He's been pitching great. Jack Flaherty, 5 innings, 0 earned today. Ended up leaving the game with some back tightness. But Jack Flaherty, he's been having himself a pretty good year. So let's see if the Tigers can get a bit more consistent next week. At number 13, we got the Giants. Interesting week, up and down week for the Giants. I'm starting to kind of like this Giants team a little bit. I feel like they're starting to put it together just a bit. They're getting some guys stepping up. I feel like they're figuring out where guys are fitting on this team, right? Again, up and down week, losing 2 out of 3 to the Diamondbacks, winning 2 out of 3 to the against the Rangers. I'm getting tired, if you can't tell. I'm starting to slur my words. And no, I have not been drinking. Just kidding. Heliot Ramos, Wilmer Flores, they have been hot. Ramos, he's been doing really well. In the 29 games that he's played, hitting .314 with a .405 on base, a .533 slugging, 6 home runs. He is playing center field as of right now. Sorry to keep bringing up Luis Robert. I'm going to plug that video as much as I can. I don't care what you say. But Luis Robert, Giants fans, let me know. Would you like someone like him? Would you like a bat like him? Let me know what you think about that. Because I could see a situation. I know, Mike Yastrzemski. I know he's Giants fans. I actually wonder what Giants fans think about Mike Yastrzemski. I feel like that's a guy where you're just going to, you believe in Mike Yastrzemski. He's been a guy that's been there for the last few years now, but he's not having a great year. Could you see a situation where if Heliot Ramos keeps hitting well, maybe you could put him in right, Luis Robert can play center? I'm just saying. I think that would be awesome. And then Mike Yastrzemski, I don't know, you just kind of figure out where to put him, right? Maybe you can, squeeze in some at-bats here and there, DH, outfield, I don't know, figure it out, right? Because Conforto is hitting pretty well too. I don't know. If it's just me, I think I would love that. I would love someone like Luis Robert there with Heliot Ramos in that outfield. That would be some good offense if you ask me. But Wilmer Flores, he's been hitting well. 3 home runs in his last 7 games. Had 2 home runs against Texas in the opener this past weekend. Brett Wisely, he's been hitting well too. Great pitching from Logan Webb. Even Spencer Howard pitched pretty well the other night. They had a bullpen game in game 1 against Texas, and then game 2 pitched pretty well. Let's see. I think I missed. Oh, here we go. No, sorry. I was looking at the wrong team. Keaton Wynn came back today from the IL. Did not have a good start. 7 earned against the Rangers. Kyle Harrison, Hicks, they struggled against the D-backs. So, again, up and down week for the Giants. I'm starting to like some of these things that are falling into place for them, though. They need Jorge Soler to really get it going. Yes, Locke Smart, Blake Snell. Let's see if maybe he can get it back. at some point. Get it together and come back at some point. I don't know. He's just been awful. Him and Jordan Montgomery. I don't know what to say. Number 12, let's talk about my Red Sox. From a Red Sox fan's perspective, at least my perspective, they split with the Braves and the White Sox this week, but I don't know what it is. It feels like they lost every single game this week. I don't know if other Red Sox fans feel that way. They had a good win against the Braves. Tanner Houck, he pitched great against the White Sox in that first game, but I don't know. It just, even though it was a split week, it just felt like just a lame week overall. I don't know. Max Fried absolutely wrecked the Red Sox in that first game. 13 strikeouts over 7 innings. My goodness, he just went to town. Ozzie Albies had that 3-run homer in that first game against them. Then they won the next game, right? Getting some good pitching from Nick Pivetta in that second game. And then you go to the White Sox series, right? Winning that first game, Tanner Houck pitched great, tons of offense, and then you drop the next two, and it's like, what is happening here? And then they picked up the win today, right? Picked it up late. I don't know. It was just a blah week. Sour Vanilla. My friend, if you have been with me on this channel for the last few years, I think most of my subscribers will easily say I'm probably the least biased guy when it comes to the Red Sox. I'm probably the least biased Red Sox fan out there. This Red Sox team, they have some of the best starting pitching in Major League Baseball. They've had a top 3 starting pitching staff all year. Their bullpen is in the top 5 as of right now when it comes to Fangraph WAR, and the rotation is also top 5 in Major League Baseball. So listen, man, I go off the stats. I go off the numbers mostly, but I also go with feel too. The offense has not been very good at all this year. But when you take a look at the Red Sox from a pitching point of view, they've been one of the best all year, and that's not biased, my friend. So I'm just saying. Where was I? The offense, like I said, it's been up and down. 14 runs against the White Sox the other night, and then you get held to 3 the next 2 games. Rafael Devers, man, he has been hitting pretty well. He had the knee issue today, didn't play today, but over 1,000 OPS, 3 home runs in the last 7 games. Emmanuel Valdez had 3 home runs since getting called back up in May. David Hamilton, I want to shout him out real quick. Had the error today at short. It did not lead to some happy times there for the next couple of innings, but made up for it with a home run, had a double in the 9th. Good base running, ended up scoring the tying run in the 9th. He's been really stepping it up for the Red Sox offensively, hitting .321, a .374 on base, .488 on the slugging, 2 home runs, 11 stolen bases in his last 7 games. David Hamilton really playing well. But again, sticking with the up and down theme for the Red Sox, the pitching. Houck, Pivetta, they were great, but then Brian Bayo, he keeps getting bit by this bad inning. Like every start with Brian Bayo, he'll just be, cruising for a good chunk of it. And then he just has one just terrible inning, and that happened against the White Sox this weekend. Cutter Crawford, he was a little up and down against Atlanta. They actually ended up pushing his start back, which I actually said was probably, in my opinion, I thought that should have happened. And I guess the Red Sox listened to me. I'm just saying. But yeah, anyway, for the Red Sox, this is a team. And to be honest with you, and kind of, getting back to Sour Vanilla in the chat, kind of getting back to it here, when you look at this chunk of teams, it's all kind of like what's the right word? It's like a melee, right? They're all kind of just jumbled up here. I think you could make an argument for maybe the Giants to be ahead of the Red Sox. The Tigers, I would love to put at number 12, but it's just that offense with Detroit. It's just so up and down. And the pitching, while they are getting some pretty good pitching lately, it just, when you look at where they are statistically, they're not ahead of the Red Sox right now, right? You got Skubal pitching out of his mind, but so is Tanner Houck, right? So it's like, I don't know. The Tigers and the Red Sox, to me, they're pretty close when it comes to just when you look at the teams as a whole, right? Just very up and down offenses. They have good pitching. I just put them a little ahead. I put the Red Sox a little ahead right now. Anyway, I think you could definitely make an argument for some of these teams. I think the Reds might even be a bit too high here, but I felt good about the Reds. I don't know. What can you do? Moving on, number 11. I think we can all agree this team is driving us all nuts. It's driving me nuts. It's driving me nuts. The Minnesota Twins. I don't know. This is that team this year. This is that team that is going to just wreck me all year. I'm kind of at a point with the Twins where I'm starting to lose like a little bit of faith in them because they're the most inconsistent team this year, in my opinion. When you want to talk about ups and downs, the Twins are like the perfect example. They get red hot and then they get ice cold. Hot, cold, hot, cold. It's like literally been all year for this team. Swept by the Yankees this week, then losing 2 out of 3 against the Pirates. They did explode today with the offense. 7 runs in the 10th inning today. Carlos Correa, Margot, they had good games today. But coming into today, they had a bottom 10 offense over the last 7. They did get Royce Lewis back. Had a couple of home runs against the Yankees, so that's nice to have him back. Correa, Buxton, Kepler, Kirilloff. I did say Correa had a good game today, but up to this point for the last little bit, he's been cold. These other guys have been cold. Edward Julian, he got sent back down to AAA. I don't know, man. But then there was a couple of weeks where the Twins offense was just red hot. It was red hot. And then it's just gone down the tubes. And then the pitching. They've had some pretty good pitching. They've had some good stretches. But if you take a look at all of these guys in the rotation, in their last starts, they have all taken an L, right? Even Joe Ryan, even though he pitched well in his last start, 7 innings, he still took the L because he didn't have the offense help him out, right? So, no fault of him. He didn't have the offense help, right? Simeon Woods Richardson, he did pitch pretty well today against the Pirates, 6 1/3, 1 earned. But overall, this Twins team, they're a very frustrating team, all right? I don't know, man. I almost don't even want to put them back in the top 10 because every time they get hot, I put them in that top 10, and then they just make me miserable, and then I have to take them out, right? So it is what it is. But everyone, let's talk about our partner for tonight's show, and that is So Rare. So taking a look here, when it comes to, one second here, I am not sure what is going on with my screen. What is happening? Hold on 1 second here. Apologies, everyone. What happened? Hold on 1 second, everyone. Okay. I don't know what happened. One moment, everyone. One moment. My screen just decided to not help me out on Google Chrome. Hold on a second. Why does this always happen? Anytime I'm in the flow of things, of course. There we go. Okay, we're back up and running. All right, so our partner for tonight is So Rare. And we were partners with So Rare not too long ago. We are back at it again. And I'll be honest with you, right? I've played a lot of fantasy baseball over the years. And in my personal opinion, I think this is one of the most fun ways to play fantasy baseball. Because what I like about it is that you can basically start over every single week, right? You can set, just like fantasy baseball, right? You can always, change your lineup around. But what I like about So Rare is that they have almost like these mini competitions throughout the week, right? They have that first set in the, Monday through Thursday, and then they got the weekend slate, right? So it's almost like you get that fresh start 2 times per week, right? Instead of regular fantasy, where usually it's just that once per week if you're having matchups, or if it's just rotisserie style, it's just all the way through. But I like it this way. But what I also like is that you collect cards, right? You collect digital cards, and those cards make up your team. And there's a whole bunch of different levels of cards, right? where, you can collect these cards as you play, and the more you win, the more cards that you can earn. But you could also go purchase cards as well if you wanted to do that. But So Rare is absolutely free to sign up. You don't need to spend one dime. You don't need to deposit any money to play. You just click the link in the description and you can just get going. So actually, once you click the link, you can just immediately draft your team. So just kind of showing you here. So I can go draft my squad right now with all of you. So I have a budget of 120 points. So you got to get a little creative when it comes to, drafting your team, right? So you have guys that are going to cost more, right, to draft. So if I wanted to draft Ohtani, right, that's going to cost me a lot of points already, right? So he's having a great year. I think it's probably worth it to just get Ohtani, right? Even though it's going to cost you 20, I think it's very well worth it, right, to go get him. Well, I wouldn't draft him as a pitcher. I would draft him as a hitter, but it's Ohtani at the end of the day. Skubal, that would be a good pitcher to add. He's having a great year. But again, when you draft your team, you got to get a little, strategic, right? How do you want to balance your team when it comes to your draft, right? Do you want to emphasize a bit more on the pitching side of things? Maybe you want to prioritize offense. Maybe you want to try and get a little balanced all the way across. So definitely something to consider when you are drafting your team on So Rare. I'm not going to sit here and do an entire draft. It's just going to take too long. We got to finish the power rankings, but go check out So Rare for yourself. And we got a couple of pretty big announcements coming in the next week. Some awesome contests that they have with really big prizes. They got a lot of All-Star Game prizes coming up to where maybe you could even win a trip to the All-Star Game, like a VIP kind of experience, right? They got cash prizes. You can win tickets with So Rare. They got a lot of good stuff coming. But like I said, they got a big announcement coming here in the next week. So go sign up for So Rare now. Go get your team set. That way you can get ready for when I do announce this big contest that's coming up. That way you'll be ready and good to go. So go check out So Rare. Again, click the link in the description down below, and that can help you get your team set up and ready to go. Alrighty, here we go, everyone. Let's get back to the power rankings, and we are in the top 10. Here we go. At number 10, we got the Mariners, right? I left the Mariners out of the top 10 last week. The Twins not having a great week. That definitely helped here. That helped the Mariners get in. But the Mariners, sure, they lost their series to the Royals this weekend. Did win their series earlier in the week against the Oakland A's. This Mariners team, again, it's still a confusing team to me. I'm just not really sure what to think of it. I'm more interested to see how this team does in the second half, right? They've gotten they've gotten a good start here, right? They're in first place in the West, so you can't fault them for that. They've also been helped by the lack of competition in that division. Not taking anything away from the Mariners, but we all know the Astros have not gotten off to a good start this year. The Rangers a little slow out of the gate. But this Mariners team, they confuse me a little bit. Their offense has been very up and down this year. They strike out a ton. However, we're starting to see some life with some guys. Mitch Garver. This was a guy Mariners fans were they were pulling their hair out over Mitch Garver, signing this guy to a contract in the offseason, and he got off to a terrible start. But he is starting to heat up lately, slugging over 800 with a couple of home runs over the last 7 games. So Mitch Garver, pay attention to him. This might be a guy, maybe if you, again, sorry to bring up So Rare again, but if you wanted to maybe go get a cheap card, maybe Mitch Garver could be a guy that you could add, because I feel like he's going to start picking it up here over the next couple of weeks, because he has been hitting extremely well. One guy you also might want to pay attention to is Tyler Locklear. He just got called up not too long ago here this past week. Ty France, he was starting to get it going a little bit, but now he's going to be on the IL with a fractured heel. That's a tough break for him. No pun intended there. But Tyler Locklear, this is a guy to really pay attention to. Number 8 prospect in the Mariners system on MLB Pipeline. At AAA over 10 games, he was hitting pretty well, hitting 300, had over a 400 on base, close to a 500 slugging. At AA, he was hitting really well, hitting 291, a 401 on base, and a 532 slugging with 8 home runs. So, hey, Tyler Locklear, maybe, there's been a lot of times this year, I feel like when a guy gets called up, they kind of get off to a hot start. I wonder if Locklear could be that guy. We'll see. That could be a guy to help give this lineup some energy. But the pitching, it's been a little up and down this week. Offensive, I'm mostly focused on the offense when it comes to this team. We all know this team can pitch, right? We all know they got the arms in the rotation. We know they got the arms in the bullpen. It's just a matter of, can this team put up runs consistently? That's what I'm paying attention to for the most part. But if I were to take a look at some of the pitching, right? If we're looking at, some of these guys for this past week, right? George Kirby, he's been looking pretty good lately, right? Give it up for him. He's having himself another solid season. They've been getting some pretty decent pitching from Brian Wu as of late too. Again, we know what this team can do when it comes to the arms, right? So that's why it's like I almost don't want to keep repeating it every single week with the Mariners, because it's like I need this offense to start getting it going. So we'll see how this goes in the next couple of weeks. At number 9, we got the Padres. I put the Padres in my top 10 last week, so they get bumped up a little bit here. Again, Twins falling out, so that bumped the Mariners and the Padres up a notch. They had a very interesting week, and I think you could make the argument maybe the Mariners could be ahead of the Padres here. I will hold. I'm just liking the Padres offense a bit more, right? They're 5th in offense on the year, so that definitely helps. But offense was a bit up and down this past week. 10-plus runs in games 2 and 3 against the D-backs this past weekend. Fernando Tatis Jr., he's hot. He had a home run today and yesterday. Hassan Kim, he's hitting well. Machado, Profar, Cronenworth, they're doing some things. I like this Padres offense. I like it a lot. And they're getting pretty solid pitching for the most part. They've just had a couple of games here where the offense, again, up and down, so they're getting good pitching when the offense is just not really doing its part. Michael King, Waldron, they had good starts this past week. Cease had a quality start his last time out. Vasquez was okay against the Diamondbacks. But, again, the offense, they've been kind of coming in bunches this past week for the Padres. Either way, I like this Padres team. I like them a little bit more than this Mariners team. A little bit more. Kyle Sherman disagrees in the chat. I know. But, hey, I like the Padres a little bit more. And they rank better statistically, much better statistically, offensively, right? Mariners definitely have the better pitching. But I like the Padres offense a lot more. So, at number 8, we got the Braves. I don't know what to think about this Braves team. I'm stunned. I don't know. Sound FX, where are you at, my friend? I haven't even seen Sound FX. And Nate the Nat, of course baseball is not just offense, but did you just hear me talk about the pitching from the Padres this past week? Did you just completely tune that out? Did you not hear any of that? I mean, I'm just saying. King, Waldron, great starts. You're saying, yes, baseball is not just offense. They've also been pitching. I don't know. What can I say? There's Sound FX. Oh, my goodness. He has been here. $10 super chat from Sound FX. Braves at number 8. I'm honestly surprised. Split at Boston, then lost against Washington. 3 against the Orioles, then 3 versus Tampa Bay. Braves do not have a number 5 starter, and they need to find one. Offense is insulting to watch. Oh, man. Hot take from Sound FX. Sound FX with the hottest take of the century. Sign Trevor Bauer. Could you imagine? Could this be Trevor Bauer's opening? I mean, listen, there's a lot of teams that could use Trevor Bauer, but I don't know, man. I don't know if Trevor Bauer gets back this year. I just don't. Like, I just think a team would have brought him in already at this point, you know? I don't know if teams really want to touch him. At the end of the day, you know, you can have your views, you know, you could be on Team Bauer and say, yeah, this guy deserves to be here. At the end of the day, I just don't think teams want to touch him. I don't know, man. I see Bob Smith in the chat. The Padres are under 500. Like, ... what are you doing? Let's go look at the standings, Mr. Bob Smith. The Cubs are under 500. The Reds are under 500. The Giants are under 500. The Cardinals are under 500. And they're all tied for a wild card spot. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know what else to say beyond that. The Tigers are under 500. Blue Jays under 500. There's a lot of teams under 500, Mr. Bob Smith. That doesn't mean anything. It means nothing. I'm looking at the stats. I'm not just looking at the record. I'm just saying. And Patrick B makes a good point. The Padres play in a good division. Bob Smith says the M's are 7 games over. Have you seen the division they play in? Have you seen how bad the Astros are this year? Have you seen how slow the Rangers are? Have you seen how bad the Angels are? I don't know. I'm just saying. I look at record and stats. That's where I'm at. But Sound FX, back to you, my friend. Definitely a hot take. I'm sure people will start to talk about that. But Sound FX, of course, thank you for your $10 super chat. I always appreciate your support, my friend. But yeah, this Braves team, I'm not really sure what to think about this Braves team. Their offense has dropped to 14th overall, 26 in offense over the last 2 weeks. Marcell Ozuna feels like the only one that's hot. I feel like he's the only one that's consistently doing something. Albies, he had a big game the other night against my Red Sox, had a 3-run home run there. That was the dagger. Murphy, he came back not too long ago. He's been hitting pretty well. He had a homer against the Nationals. Kelnick homered against the Nationals. I don't know, man. This offense, they're just not putting it together. And Ronald Acuna Jr., I don't know. Are they going to be able to make that same magic that they had back in 2021? I think they're going to have to make some kind of moves here. We'll see. Pitching has been up and down too. I feel like I've said up and down a lot in this stream. But Hurston Waldrop, he had his debut today. Hey, big time pitching prospect. I think that guy is going to have a lot of good things coming. But he had a very bumpy debut. 3 2/3, 7 earned runs. Hurston Waldrop, though, very good stuff. Charlie Morton, kind of meh against the Nationals. 5 innings, 4 earned. But they've had good pitching, too. Chris Sale did take the loss against the Nationals, but he pitched great. He had a bad start against Oakland his last time out, but 7 innings, 2 earned, 10 strikeouts. Again, the offense, though, not stepping up. Max Fried, I mentioned him earlier, 13 strikeouts over 7 innings. I don't know, man. The Braves, they're hitting some tough times. I still think they're one of the better teams in baseball. But they got to figure this out. They need something they're bleeding right now, and they got to get this under control. This team's full of talent. We'll see. Miles England. We had a couple of super chats here. You retracted the second one, so I can't read that. Thank you for that one. $5 super chat in the first one. Is the greatest age of great teams to have a chance? Sorry, I read that wrong. Is this the greatest age of great teams to have a chance, or a bunch of terrible teams that are just hoping to get into the playoffs? This is kind of why, like, I can appreciate the way they do the wild card now. You get the 3 wild card teams. But listen, back in 2004, man, in the early 2000s, when you go back to that, I always think of the 2004 season because the Red Sox were the wild card team that year. When you go back to those times where you had that one wild card, I don't know, it just felt more prestigious to get into the playoffs. And now it's like I guess you could make it the argument too when you have more wild card teams, more teams in contention, that could open up the possibilities of just having a much more active trade deadline because more teams are going to be willing to buy. But then you could also see teams where they're kind of hovering the line a little bit, right? Where they're just kind of, you see teams maybe even do a little bit of both at the deadline, where maybe they buy a piece, get a cheaper piece, but then they sell off a piece too. And I don't know. I just feel like when you have the 3 wild cards, you get a lot of this clutter, right? You get a lot of these 500 teams. And it's like the separation. Right now I'm looking at the American League wild card, and they got the 3 wild card teams right now: the Orioles, the Royals, and the Twins. But then just on the outside, you get the Red Sox, the Tigers, the Blue Jays, the Rays, and the Rangers, all within 3 games. So it's like, I'm not really, I don't know. It's the disparity is just not there, right? And you could definitely make some good arguments for it, right? You got more teams that are competitive, but it's like, ugh. But then it can also sort of feels like it's watered down, And even the National League, you got 4 teams tied for the 3rd wild card right now. The Padres are the 2nd wild card, and they're 1 game under 500. The Braves are like the clear-cut wild card team here, the 35-28. All right, every other team is under 500. Like this National League, you have 4 teams over 500 in the National League. That's crazy to me. 4 teams out of 15 are over 500. I don't know, man. I don't know what is going on. Well, Ismael Sanchez, we get it, Padre lover. Ismael Sanchez, are you a Dodger fan? I think you might be a Dodger fan. If I were to make a guess, you might be a Dodger fan. I have that thought in my head. Anyway, let's get back to it. Braves, they got to figure this out. I think they will get it back on track, right? You got a lot of pros on this team. You got a lot of talent on this team. I think they're going to be okay. I think they'll be fine. At number 7, we got the Brewers. I've liked this Brewers team this year. I've really liked this team. But they got swept by the Phillies this week. Then they bounced back, winning 2 out of 3 against the Tigers. All right, 4th in offense. That's been the one weird thing about this Brewers team. I've said it so many times. They have always had good pitching, but they've never really had a good offense. And this offense this year has been awesome. However, lately, they've been a bit cold. Ranked in the bottom half in the last 7 games. They've had Yelich, Turang, Perkins, Churio. They've been hitting well. Contreras, Hoskins, Bowers, Frelick are cold, though. So the offense not clicking on all cylinders. Starting pitching ranks 26 overall in Fangraph WAR. Freddie Peralta, Tobias Meyer, picking up W's this past week. Other than that, it just feels like the starting pitching is hanging by a thread. I don't know, man. The starting pitching, they need to add something. They got a lot of guys on the IL too. You're talking about the Braves and how many injuries they're having. The Brewers are getting a lot of injuries when it comes to the pitching, right? So I could see the Brewers maybe adding a starter at the deadline. We'll see. At number 6, we got the Royals. Hey, not a bad week for the Royals, winning 2 out of 3 against the Mariners, splitting with Cleveland. Offense, 10th overall. Bobby Wick Jr., he's been hot. Pasquantino, Hunter Renfroe, hitting well. Hunter Renfroe starting to pick it up. My goodness, that guy's been pretty disappointing this year. Starting pitching has not been amazing as of late with the Royals. That's been their calling card this year. They've been getting some great starting pitching. Cole Reagans did pitch well his last time out. 6 innings, 1 earned, 6 strikeouts. Seth Lugo had a rare bad start, though, against Cleveland. Didn't do very well. Marsh, Singer, they got touched up in their last starts. Daniel Lynch, he was kind of meh against Seattle. But the Royals, they're hanging around here. I think people are maybe waiting for this Royals team to fade, but they're not fading. They're not fading. And Locksmart, that's a great stat in the chat. Royals over 300 with the batting average and runners in scoring position this year. Yeah, they're getting the timely hitting. So the Royals, almost in a way kind of reminding me of those mid-2000s teams, or the mid-2010s, sorry. All right, but they're just coming up with those clutch hits. Gotta love that. So, here we go. Yeah, blue cheesy. I know. I know. Whenever I say meh, it's almost like I don't even want to talk about it because it was probably not great to talk about right now. It was that bad. But yeah, Royals playing some good baseball. The team they split with this past week, I got the Guardians at number 5, splitting with KC, winning 2 out of 3 against the Marlins. 8th in offense, Stephen Kwan and Daniel Schneemann. They called him up this past week. They've both been hitting over 400 in the last 7 games. You know what I like about this team? They call up these guys from the minor leagues, like names you haven't really heard of, and they just step up. Daniel Schneemann, and then Fry they called up too. He's been great, right? So they're getting a lot out of these guys in the minors. Gotta love that. Yeah, I see you in the chat. Philly0024, David Fry going nuts. I mean, where are these guys coming from? I mean, who is Daniel Schneemann? I mean, what a name. I love that name. But as for a guy that we do know, Jay Ram, 2 home runs in his last 7 games. Starting pitching, 30th in Major League Baseball, though. I don't even know how to describe this Guardians rotation. Like, it's not bad. Even though they're dead last in starting pitching, they're just doing enough, right? They're getting enough starting pitching, which does rank them 30th, right? But when you look at, ERA, it's not terrible. The FIP isn't great, right? That's what definitely lowers them on the leaderboards when it comes to Fangraphs. But they're just doing enough, and they're just handing it off to this bullpen, which has been amazing this year. A couple of cracks showing in that armor, though, with Cleveland, right? First in Major League Baseball when it comes to relief pitching. However, Hunter Gaddis, Cade Smith, they took L's this past week. Sandlin, he blew a save on Thursday. So, I don't know. Maybe we're seeing a little something here with the Guardians bullpen. I don't know, but still, they got great arms back there. Clase is amazing. But again, kind of getting back to just getting enough when it comes to the rotation, right? Logan Allen, he did pitch well against Miami, 6 innings, but Tristan McKenzie, he has not looked great this year. 5 1/3 against KC, gave up 5 earned, 9 hits. I mean, that's not going to get it done. Bybee, Lively, they went 5 innings each. It's kind of, they're getting like the bare minimum when it comes to starting pitching. I feel like they need to add something there. Will they, or are they just going to roll with what they got? I don't know, man. I don't know. At number 4, I can already see the comments now. I can see the comments now, man. Listen, I'm just gonna say it. You can say all you want. You can give me all the words you want in the chat. But right now, I mean, listen, I know they just won the series this past weekend, but I still got the Dodgers at 4. I can already see, I can hear the screams from a distance. It's like a very faint sound, but I can hear it all the way from California. I can just hear it all the way. It's like a very faint sound, but I'm hearing the screaming right now. But you lost 2 out of 3 against Pittsburgh. I mean, I don't know. I know you just beat the Yankees this past weekend, but you did just lose 2 out of 3 against the Pirates. So come on. I mean, you can't tell me that didn't happen. That happened, right? I mean, I'm waiting for the comments. Oh, there's the comment. There it is. This is Bailey. Robbie has never once given the Dodgers their flowers. I had the Dodgers at number 1 for crying out loud not too long ago. They were my top team in the power rankings at one point. I knew I was going to get a comment. I knew it. Ismael Sanchez, I am sorry. I am sorry I'm killing you. You lost 2 out of 3 to Pittsburgh, all right? listen, I like what Pittsburgh's doing lately. I like the pitching, but you lost 2 out of 3. Listen, good weekend for the Dodgers. They do move up. Can I at least give you that? They move up. I think they were 5 last week. So they did move up. So if you're saying here in the chat, I'm not giving their flowers. Well, I'm giving some flowers. I gave a nice little daisy. They moved from 5 to 4. That's something. Something, right? Here's some flowers for you. First in offense overall now in Major League Baseball. Freddie Freeman, he's been red hot. How about Teoscar Hernandez? He had a massive series against the Yankees. 3 home runs in his last 7. And then he had another one tonight. So Mookie Betts, a couple of homers. I see the flowers in the chat. And nice and yellow flowers. You got to love that. Starting pitching. Bit up and down this past week. Let's start with the good. Mr. Yamamoto, the Yammy man, looking great against the Yankees. 7 shutout innings. I think you could argue it's probably his best start all year. You know what? I'm actually going to go to Yamamoto. I'm going to go to his game log, and I'm going to see, was that actually his best start? If you go to Fangraphs, if you go to the game logs for a picture, they give you the game score. And yes, that was actually his best start of the year. They gave him an 80 grade score, and that was his best one. His next best one was back against Washington on April 25th. He had 6 shutout innings. And then the next best one was against St. Louis, where he went 5 shutout. So, yeah, this was his best start. He went 7 innings, 2 hits, 7 Ks against the Yankees, and that was in Yankee Stadium. He really took it to the Yankees, right? Really took it to him. Gavin Stone, he's won a couple of games in his last couple of starts. Glasnow had a tough luck loss against the Pirates, but Paxton, Buehler, they got lit up against Pittsburgh. So, pitching, up and down, offense, looking great. Overall, this Dodgers team is great. There are your flowers. So you get all the flowers. All the flowers. Number three. I just saw this team this past Friday. The Orioles. This team looks good. Listen, I can watch highlights on TV, but when you just see the way this team plays, man, when you're just seeing them in person. I was watching BP, and these guys just look so relaxed, man. They just look so, man, like, this team has got it, man. I like this team. I like them a lot. They've won 13 out of their last 17. Split with Toronto, but then they've won the first 3 against Tampa. Game 4 is tomorrow. Third in offense on the year. Santander is going off. And I mentioned this earlier. Santander, I was watching him in BP, and this guy was just effortless with the swings. Just hitting out bombs during BP. And, of course, had a very good series against the Rays. Rushman homer today. Gunnar Henderson. I mean, this guy's been just amazing this year. He continues to hit well. Austin Hayes, a couple of home runs in his last 7 games. Got off to a terrible start. Mountcastle, he's got a few home runs over his last 7 games. This offense is just clicking right now. Starting pitching, second in Major League Baseball right now. Grayson Rodriguez, he was solid today, 5 2/3, 2 earned, 6 Ks. Kyle Bradish, he was really good against Tampa Bay. 9 strikeouts over 6 shutout innings. Corbin Burns picked up the win against the Blue Jays. 7 innings, 1 run. But listen, man, this Orioles team, they're playing great. Number 2. Got the Phillies. I thought about maybe moving the Phillies up to the number 1 spot. But you know, I don't know. I know the Yankees, they just lost their series against the Dodgers. But sweeping the Twins definitely helped out the Yankees this week. But for the Phillies, number 2, they swept Milwaukee. They split with the Mets in London. 6 in offense on the year. Home run in London. Castellanos had a couple of home runs. He was the one that caused the game-ending double play today. Castellanos, man, we're seeing a little bit of life. He has not had an amazing year, but we're starting to see a little something from him. Bryson Stott, he's hitting well. Offense, this Phillies offense is good. I think Schwarber homered this past weekend too. I think I don't know why I'm going blank on that. This starting pitching is just it's amazing. First in starting pitching, Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler, Suarez picked up W's this past week. Nola, Wheeler, they both had 7 shutout innings against the Brewers. I'm just saying, I like this Phillies team. Brandon Dillman, I see you in the chat. The Phillies rotation is disgusting. It really is, man. I want to know what is Dave Dombrowski going to do at the deadline. I'm so curious to see what he does because this team is in such a good spot. I just really want to see what that guy does. And at number 1, I am going to stick with the Yankees. I already know. I can see. Again, I'm hearing the screams all the way from California. I'm hearing them, right? I know the Yankees just lost 2 out of 3. They did salvage the series. The good win tonight. They didn't have Soto. Also, just want to point that out. Just saying. But Soto is the big news this past week. People were like ready to jump off of a bridge with Soto because you're hearing, he was having some problems with the forearm. People were thinking, oh no, is this like a Tommy John kind of a thing where he needs to get surgery? Oh my goodness, the world is crumbling. But looks like he's okay. He should be back this coming week. MRI reviewed, or they reviewed the MRI, only showed some inflammation. So Juan Soto, that guy's been a game changer for the Yankees this year. But Aaron Judge, what the heck is going on with Aaron Judge? I'm just saying, Aaron Judge is going just off. Since the beginning of May, I mean, I need to pull up the numbers. I need to pull up these numbers. Let's see. What has he been doing here for the last 30 games? In the last 30 games, listen to these numbers. Aaron Judge is hitting .413 with a .534 on base, a slugging of 1.048. That's the slugging, not the OPS. That's his slugging over the last 30 games. 17 home runs, 38 RBIs, 27 walks compared to 29 strikeouts. That's over the last 30 games. That's insane. He's hitting .522 over his last 7. What is happening? Like, I need to see. Is this one of the best runs we are seeing over a certain period of time? I don't know. I might need to look into this. I'm just saying. He's going crazy. He had a couple of home runs on Saturday. He had another one tonight. How about Trent Grisham finally doing something? I was just saying to my best buddy, big Yankee fan, I was saying Trent Grisham, he hasn't even done anything this year, and then he comes up with a big home run tonight. 3-run, home run, go-ahead home run in the 6th inning. Speaking of outfielders, though, Jason Dominguez, he could be back here pretty soon. 6 hits, 3 doubles, and a home run in his last 3 games. Jason Dominguez could be close. Speaking of close, Garrett Cole, another rehab start, 4 2/3, 1 earned, 4 Ks today. Did give up a home run. That's okay. Garrett Cole, he's almost back. Starting pitching has been just so good for this Yankee team, man. Going to the box score, let's actually look at Luis Gil. Let's look at his start for tonight. No, not his best start, but still pretty solid. 5 2/3, 3 earned, struck out 5. He has an ERA of 2.04 on the year. He has been something, man. I remember, people were debating who should be the 5th starter in this rotation, and they ended up giving it to him, and he has been incredible. He's looking great. Nestor Cortez, Stroman didn't have great starts against the Dodgers and the Brewers, but Rodon and, like I said, Gil, he's been great. They even had Poteet the other night pitched pretty well against Yamamoto. Poteet was going toe-to-toe with the Yami man. I'm just saying. But the Yankees, in my opinion, sure, I know they lost 2 out of 3 here, but again, you didn't have Soto. They weren't at full strength. Soto's coming back this week. Listen, This Yankee team is good. This Yankee team is good. I see you in the chat, Micker. Is that the name, Micker? The Yankee lineup is not mid, because actually, when you look at the numbers, the Yankees lineup, the Yankees offense this year ranks second overall, only behind the Dodgers. Actually, that's the offense. That's when you include the bats and the base running. The Yankees, when it comes to WRC plus weighted runs created, they're first overall. So the Yankees technically have the best bats in Major League Baseball this year. Obviously, Aaron Judge, Juan Soto are making up a big part of that, but they're first in WRC plus, second in offense. I'm just saying. They got a lot of guys stepping up for them this year. Stanton, he's been better this year. Verdugo, he's been contributing, right? They got a lot of guys. I like this Yankee lineup. So, and that's coming from me, a Red Sox fan. But those are my power rankings for this week. Guarantee we're going to get a lot of people complaining in the comments. I can't wait for it. It's going to be great. We got a super chat here from Miles England, $20 super chat. Thank you so much for that, Miles. There should be no screams about the Dodgers at 4. It's been an inconsistent year. The offense has some cold streaks. The Dodgers will add at the deadline, and that's not including both Kershaw and May coming back. I mean, those are two guys I think a lot of people just forget about because it's out of sight, out of mind. But you're right. They're going to be back at some point. The Dodgers will add. I did include the Dodgers in my Luis Robert video because it's the Dodgers and they can always go make a move because they have the prospects to get it done. Could that be a guy maybe they go after? I feel like probably not. I do wonder if they go after a shortstop. That way they can move Mookie back out to the outfield. Or maybe they just want to keep Mookie at short. I'm not sure. But you are right, Miles England. They will absolutely add. That is definitely for sure. Mets fan, $1.99. Yankees need a third baseman. Well, you're not exactly wrong. The way I was kind of thinking about it, because I know DJ LeMahieu just came back not too long ago. So they got him at third. Right. So I think, they're going to give him time. They're going to see, what he can do there. Right. But, it's very possible. Right. Let's say the Astros are completely out of it. Maybe they do something for someone like Alex Bregman. I don't know. But we'll see. Maybe. But everyone, I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to get going. But I do also just want to announce this next week. I will not be here. I will not be here next week. I will be in Boston next week. I am going to the Red Sox Yankees. Well, I'm not going to the whole series, but I will be going to game 2 of that series next Saturday. My first ever Red Sox Yankee game. I am so excited for it. I've never seen the Red Sox and the Yankees play. I've been to Fenway Park many times, but I've never seen the Sox and the Yanks at Fenway Park. So I'm excited for that. But I will not be here next weekend. I will be in Boston. Actually, I will be flying back when I'm supposed to be doing power rankings. No, I'm not going to do power rankings on the plane. I'm not going to do that. But I do have a late flight back. So I thought about doing it the next morning. But I'm going to be very honest with you. I'm going to be so tired. I'm going to be so tired the next morning. I'm just not. Anytime I travel, I'm always just like a giant potato the next day. I just know it's not going to happen. I am doing a Bleacher Report. Let me actually check my little old calendar here. I actually have a couple of Bleacher Report streams next Monday. So I already have stuff going on, so I won't even be able to do power rankings next Monday. But, no power rankings next week. Let's take a week off. Let's kind of, freshen up a little bit. We've been doing these every single week, so I think we all deserve a little week off. I think that'll be good. Help freshen things up. But I do have a lot of videos coming out this week. I got a mock draft coming out tomorrow. My first mock draft for the draft this year, so make sure you check out that tomorrow. That's going to be out at either like 4 or 5 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow. So keep an eye out for that. I will also be, I'm going to try to do 3 videos this week, but I know for a fact I will be doing the most surprising players for each team this coming week. I'm probably going to post that on Thursday because, like I said, I'm going to be out of town from Friday to Sunday. So I'm going to post that for Thursday. I'm also going to shoot for one more, maybe at some point before that. So definitely keep an eye out for the channel. Make sure you have the notifications turned on. Make sure that bell notification is on. If you can, on the way out for me, everyone, hit that like button. Share the show for the replay viewers if you can. Subscribe if you're new. And also, again, I know I've said it a few times, but check out Sorare. The link is in the description down below. It's completely free to sign up. Go draft your team. Go see what kind of a team you can put together. Again, we got some great contests coming up that have big prizes and even a trip to the All-Star game as a prize. So make sure you get signed up, use that link, and get your team ready. Everyone, I'm out of here. Thank you again for joining me for another episode of Power Rankings. I am very tired. I need to go to bed. Have yourself a great night, everyone. Have yourself a great rest of your week, and I'll talk to you next time.